Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest, and by the end we will have learned something new, and hopefully you will too. Now, it's actually our first kind of
two-week fortnightly
podcast.
Yes, it is.
We've had a little bit of a shuffle around when it comes to the Now We Know show.
We've been doing so much content in so many areas.
Let's say this is episode 122.
Exactly. We've been very consistent with the podcast.
Exactly, and we've also got a lot of other things going on the pipeline as well.
So we need a button to give us a cheer, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what we need to do. But basically, by splitting it up and doing a podcast every other week now, that also gives us extra time to do other stuff that we want to do.
Exactly. So if you haven't checked out the Cryptid Adventurers, go and take a look at that, because
with that's going to be coming out in those gap
weeks. The thing is, we found, just a quick thing, we found that a lot of the podcasts that we do, some of the most popular ones have been on the folklore and cryptozoology and stuff.
Mythology,
And we had a lot of requests coming in about can we do more, and we thought, well, we could keep doing podcasts in the Now We Know show about that. That's fine.
Because we want to keep this alive.
We want to keep doing that, but because it's so popular, we thought we'd just give it its own thing. So yeah, the Cryptid Adventurers, go check it out.
Yeah.
Yes, we're back in the studio.
Yes, back in the studio for another legendary podcast from the Now We Know show of cosmic proportions.
Yes, and cosmic proportions, very good, is because we're going off into deep space.
Deep space, ooh.
Yes, this week we are talking all about Europa. Well, not Europa itself, but a mission to Europa. We'll get to that momentarily.
But first,
it's time for
Weird and Wonderful.
And we've just had Halloween, and that's so it's kind of like timed it quite nicely.
It's a bit of Halloween themed.
Yes,
got a residual kind of festive.
Yeah, there are those people that say that although Halloween happens on the 31st of October, that actually Halloween for them happens all year round. It doesn't. Really
for us, it's got to be the entirety of October, hasn't it?
Yeah, we love Halloween.
Love horror movies.
Yeah, and so check out our 31 Days of Horror. Anyway, moving on. Yes, so Weird and Wonderful. This week it's all about a phantom parade.
A what?
A phantom parade.
What's a phantom parade?
Well, it's a parade that was meant to be a kind of a Halloween parade of, phantoms, ghosts, zombies, and all sorts of things.
Okay.
And it was publicised to be happening in Dublin city centre on Halloween.
So in Ireland.
In Ireland, that's right. And literally, I think it was hundreds, if not thousands, of people turned up for this parade of all these ghouls and ghosties, only to discover that it didn't happen. It was a complete and utter fantasy.
It didn't. Oh,
it turned out that people were putting like AI stuff online, that there was going to be this big parade, and loads of people said, "Yeah, we're going to go to this parade." So they all turned up, and of course, what happened was all the bus drivers and the tram drivers in Dublin, they couldn't get through. It caused absolute mayhem and chaos. The police had to be called.
So it was just a complete fake.
It was a complete fake.
So that was actually
a phantom Halloween parade.
Exactly. So it was a prime example of kind of one of the dangers of AI and fake.
Yes,
fake
people have been putting
generated
up fake things. So yes, there was basically it's a phantom Halloween parade.
Quite literally,
that completely didn't happen. Yeah, disappeared.
Well, let's talk about something now that is happening.
Right,
we're going off into the cosmos.
Oh yes, we are. So what we're talking about is the Europa Clipper mission. Have you heard of that, Zach?
Well, since we're doing a podcast about it, I am aware that it's something you're interested in and want to tell everyone about.
It may well have come up in conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I'm really excited about this because we are literally in the golden age for humanity. We're in the golden age of robotic deep space exploration. And the thing I'm really interested about the Europa Clipper mission is it's obviously going to the moon of Europa, which orbits Jupiter, the largest gas giant in our solar system.
Mhm.
It technically isn't a mission to search for life,
Okay.
but you could say that it is the first step. Okay.
Intriguing.
Because obviously humans, mankind, scientists, we love to speculate about
Aliens.
well, alien life.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people, we've probably discussed this in other podcasts where they think, alien life, is it going to be kind of like your ET type of stuff? Is it going to be little green men in UFOs? Is it going to be, we have
We've got Alan Parker over
Alan
here.
Parker's still here. Yes,
Yay!
for those listening, it's our inflatable alien. He's come along to join us in the studio. Anyway, so you've got that thing about, does life exist in the universe? But the thing is, the key question is, of course, as far as we know, and it's fact, we only know life on planet Earth.
Yes.
Beyond planet Earth, in the vastness of the Laniakea, the star cluster of galaxies, literally billions and billions of galaxies, here we are on the outer spiral arm of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. We don't know if the rest of the universe is basically void of life and we are some kind of
weird anomaly.
Weird anomaly, or if you're religious, that we are here because of creation,
Divine,
or whether divine
intervention,
or whether it's a case of evolution, which is a theory, is why we're here. So of course what scientists are trying to do is to always trying to find if life is out there somewhere. Of course we can only reach out so far in our solar system. We've sent deep space probes like the Voyagers out, which are basically done flybys past planets and things, and they're limited on obviously what their instruments can detect and
let's not forget, in those instances, these are, in relative terms, the technology on those missions and things are completely outdated by today's standards.
Oh yeah, definitely, but they still keep ticking.
Exactly.
So of course what we've done in the past is we've sent loads of probes to Mars. And we know for a fact, we can observe that Mars itself, although it's pretty much basically a dead planet, has got waterways, river deltas, gorges that were cut through by water. You can see that from
at some point in
the geology,
the long past.
Yeah, exactly. So water was on Mars, and still, I believe it's still in the northern and southern poles have water,
ice caps,
but ice caps, but to how much and what extent we don't know. But so there you've got a planet that we've sent loads of probes to and loads of rovers and things. And in fact, actually, maybe where's the horn this week?
Where is the horn? You've got the horn.
Yeah, there we go. I'll see if I get a horn for this one. It's the only planet that we know in the whole universe that's populated by robots. There you go. Think about it. Just think about that for a moment.
I'm surprised. Did that fact come up in the Mars podcast?
It may have done, but it's a fact that is the only one we know that's actually populated by robots.
That's weird and wonderful. I like that.
So we've gone to Mars because obviously there's a planet, which has evidence of water in its past, and obviously because it's billions of years old, if there had been a possibility that life had developed on Mars, there might be traces of it still there, living or fossilized, and that's why the missions are there, to try and detect that, see if they can come up with anything. However, onto Europa. Europa Clipper. Okay,
right. We'll go that way.
The thing with Europa is a moon that's about the same. I believe it's about the same size of our moon.
Okay.
But it is encased in ice. And it's had missions that have flown past it before and have seen these great cracks and fissures in the ice that obviously the ice itself, the crust of the moon, moves about and changes. Okay, so this means that there is something going on there. And also it's been seen, observed and detected that there are plumes that come out into space.
What type of plume?
Like a thermal plume, like something is burst out and pushing up.
An eruption.
An eruption, exactly. Which again means that there must be some thing going on in the geology of the moon.
Yep.
And anyway, so with Europa, scientists are pretty sure that if you take all the water on planet Earth and double it, that's what's sitting underneath the ice crust of Europa. A
Wow. Okay.
a saltwater sea,
Yep.
vastly deeper than our own, because obviously it's a smaller
Mhm.
planetoid moon, than the Earth, but double the amount of water sitting underneath this crust.
So it's just to compare the two. Obviously, we are on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
This is a planet.
Yep.
But the moon, size-wise, is obviously classed as a moon
Yep.
comparatively.
Because it's a satellite that goes around us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't go around us. It goes around Jupiter.
No, you just said the moon. You're talking about,
Well,
about Europa.
Yeah, Europa is a moon.
And
We have a moon.
Yes, and it orbits Jupiter. It's one
Yeah.
of Jupiter's moons, anyway.
So you're saying about all this stuff going on inside it.
Well, that's the whole point of the
It's
Europa.
vastly deeper than our own sea.
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of picture it. Is there potentially like a core to this?
It's believed that the moon itself hasn't got any kind of thermal core like the Earth has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is reason we're sending out the probe, the Europa Clipper, because the Europa Clipper has got 9 instruments on it. Okay, 5 are kind of like camera like spectrographs, and they are remote sensing instruments to map the geology of the planet, of the moon, should I say. And then 4 others are measuring the environmental gases and dust coming off of Europa.
Okay.
So it's kind of like sniffing the moon, if you like, and determining what's happening, what kind of
sniffing the moon.
Yeah, sniffing the moon.
That sounds like some kind of euphemism for something.
No,
Just got to sniff the moon. Sorry,
but that's by collecting that moon dust, if you
moon
like,
dust, yeah.
moon dust and gases. It means that they can then see what kind of chemicals and elements and things that are there.
What is composition, makeup?
Composition, makeup. The main priority of the Europa mission is to confirm that there is a saltwater sea below the crust. It's going there in search of this water.
Yeah, that's its goal.
That's its goal. Now, if we talk about life, okay, then we really are talking about 3 things in order to, what we believe need to be processes to create life. Okay. As we know it on planet Earth. So you need water, you need energy, and you need the essential chemical building blocks for life. Okay, so
the soup.
Yeah, so you need those things in order for life to develop. And that's the thing with Europa. Unlike Mars, which is a dead planet, Europa has got something happening there. You've got the water, because you've got the salt water. You've got, hopefully, the building blocks, the chemical building blocks you need for life, but you need that energy source. Now, you mentioned about has it got a
core.
molten core, which I don't think it's believed that it has. However, what it does is its orbit around Jupiter, I think it's elliptical. And what it causes, as it goes closer and away, it creates a pull on the whole of the moon. So it generates energy within the moon itself, which produces heat.
Wow.
So if you, I haven't got a paperclip, but if you had a paperclip or a piece of metal and you were bending it, bend it.
I'm imagining it with my brain.
You cause metal fatigue and it will snap. But if you feel it, you've also produced heat.
Yeah,
it will get hot before it snaps.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
So that constant pulling of Jupiter's gravitational pull on the moon is creating the energy heat in the planet, in the moon, shall I say. And if that's the case, and this is what's creating these thermal plumes that are coming out, therefore you have an energy source. Now, of course, on planet Earth, our main energy source for life on Earth is what? I'm giving you a clue by sticking my finger in the air.
The sun.
It's the sun, yeah. So it's the thermal energy from the sun.
Yeah.
So how could we think that you've got a moon that's encased in ice, which is kilometers thick, with a huge ocean underneath it?
Hard to really picture, isn't it?
No light is going to penetrate that ice crust.
No. So
how can life develop in that way? Well, it does on Earth. Okay, because if you go down to the deepest parts of the ocean where there are thermal vents,
That is a good point.
that
is a very good point.
They are so rich in different chemicals and toxic to life in general.
Yeah,
but
to what we would deem,
but life has developed around those thermal vents,
kind of pocket ecosystems.
Exactly. So you've got these ecosystems on Earth as proof that life can develop, and that life is, solely concentrated around those thermal vents. There's different types of shrimps and crabs and fish and things that don't survive away from the vents, but the vents themselves are incredibly rich with life.
That is their world.
That's their world.
That's their planet.
And they never see daylight.
Yeah.
Because they're so deep in the ocean that life on planet Earth has basically developed over billions of years down at those depths. Crushing pressures, salt water, energy source, and the right combination of chemical building
life
blocks.
Can exist.
That's scientifically what we believe to happen. Yeah. Unless you're a creationist and you think that some celestial being went and say, "Oh, I'm going to put some crabs down in the bottom of the sea.
Let's create prawns."
Prawns around that thermal vent. But there you go.
Anyway, we're not talking about that in this particular podcast. We're talking about Europa.
Theology. We're talking about science. So the science of it is that Europa is it's probably our best chance of finding the signs of life, because that's the other factor when it comes to life developing. You need, as I say, water, an energy source, the chemical building blocks, but time.
Yeah.
And so it's been there for billions of years since the solar system formed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there has been time for life in that deep ocean to develop if it's there. So the Europa mission was launched on 14th of October this year and took off using one of SpaceX Falcon rockets, and it's heading out on its way to Europa. Not exactly directly, because what it's doing is heading out towards Mars. Yeah. It's going to get a gravity slingshot around Mars.
I think it's mad how they can figure this stuff out.
I tell you, it's crazy, because it's not like you're guiding these ships, these spacecraft, by literally having a real-time monitor and a joystick.
A joystick. Heads-up display on your laptop.
And there you are. They got somebody like on a 12-hour shift, flying the spaceship through.
No, it's all numbers.
Space. It's all calculated, all mathematics. It goes there. It gets a slingshot around Mars, which sends it back to us.
What?
Yes.
Hang on. What?
So he sends it back to Earth, and then it'll get a secondary gravitational slingshot around Earth.
Well, so it's just kind of revving up.
Just revving up, so it gets its speed up. Slingshots around Mars, comes back to Earth, slingshots around Earth, which will then send it out to orbit Jupiter. Now, what we have to think about with Jupiter has got a massive magnetic field.
Oh yeah, it's huge,
and it's sending out charged particles all the time. The radiation there is a very, as far as spaceships and things are concerned, it's a very hazardous place to be. And Europa is sitting in probably one of the worst maelstroms of these charged particles, and they're literally bombarding Europa all the time, as well as obviously just the space around the planet. So in order to protect the Clipper, the Europa Clipper, what they've done is two things. When it gets out there, which I think I'm trying to think. I think it should rise in 2030. Should get there.
Oh crikey! So it's six odd years.
Yeah, it'll take its time to get there. Well, hence why it needs these slingshot boosts.
Otherwise, it take forever.
So when it gets there, it's going to settle into an elliptical orbit. So it goes out away from Jupiter to keep it out of the radiation, and then it'll swing back round and come in for close passes of Europa before it slingshots off out again.
So it's orbiting Jupiter,
and then coming past Europa, within that orbit, and going back out.
Yeah,
that means it's trying to minimise its time, its exposure to these high radiation, these highly charged
because you can't send out a plumber or whatever to fix it.
And
engineer.
And it's also got all its electronics, computers, and everything are also in a protected vault on board. Okay, so I mean, it's a big probe. I think it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, probe that's actually been launched.
So how what are we talking?
Well, it weighs in at 2,750 kilos.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm at the gym,
That's a lot.
and I normally don't go by myself. I won't go over 100 kilos on a bench press without a spotter. So that's 100 kilos. We're talking 2,750 kilos in weight.
I'm not going to be people pressing that. That's going to be pressing me.
And then it has two solar arrays which come out each side.
Oh yeah.
And they're over 100 feet in length.
Jeez,
so
that's
if you stood it on its end, it's almost the height of the Statue of Liberty.
That's insane. That is a good scale, to like compare it to.
Try and get that into your head. And that thing got launched, on that SpaceX Falcon rocket, and obviously it's heading out. Solar arrays open up.
How long ago was the launch?
October. 14th of October
was
this
this obviously talking about SpaceX? Was this one of these ones where they had like the thing re-land?
I'm not sure. I think the Falcon rocket does. So yeah, it probably did.
That's pretty cool.
I need to just double check on that.
I
know. Seeing that one that actually I've seen them landing on platforms at sea, but to see that one come back recently, which landed actually in its original tower,
mental.
But then we've got the Tesla bots starting to walk around now. Yeah, Optimus Tesla bots. So we need to come back. And
certainly a topic for another podcast.
Do a review on that. Anyway, so it is absolutely amazing that we have got this probe that's heading out to Europa, and it is basically there to measure the thickness of the ice, decipher Europa's complex geography, geology, ascertain the nature and size and composition of the ocean under the ice crust. So it's just a fascinating time. Obviously we've got to wait to 2030, but once we get that information coming back, and if it looks really promising, then again, it is really marking up Europa as being probably the most likely place that we might find.
So in that sense, should the predictions prove true, and this would obviously confirm these predictions, would that then be the basis to send something else to like get down there somehow?
Yes. Well, actually, there's one little fact that just popped into my head. I was talking about the radiation that's put out, the charged particles from Jupiter. It means that when Europa is passing through that radiation and then moving off into the elliptical orbit to get away from it, it's like having a million chest X-rays all at once. And everybody dives and hides behind if you ever go to an X-ray bar. So it really is getting heavily bombarded by radiation. But anyway, so it's kind of like it's a 4-year mission. So it'll be out there doing its thing for 4 years.
4 to 6,
Well, no, to get there, but then 4 years after that.
Oh, okay,
right. It gets there, but the mission duration once it arrives and gets into orbit will be 4 years.
Is that just the projected lifespan of the thing? Because I doubt it's going to be coming back.
I don't think it'll be coming back. I mean, to be honest, I haven't read anything about what like the final demise of the mission, whether it just keeps on transmitting, whether sometimes in the past where they've taken probes and then actually purposefully crashed them in order to get other evidence and stuff. Because you can get the plumes coming off the surface, and then they, using deep space telescopes, look for the telltale signs depending on the spectrum of light they get.
Because that is the thing. This is kind of going into the realms of kind of potentials, and obviously with Mars, they've had things go way beyond like expected life spans. So plans change.
Well, we'll have to come back to Mars because obviously there's
you mission. Love Mars.
I know, but there are future missions. I mean, you remember the I think it was the last one that went there, which had the small helicopter or drone that went with it. But that's what they want. They want to actually, now they've proven that they can fly on Mars. Rather than doing like, I don't know. I think the Mars rovers do sort of like a kilometre in 4 days or something. Yeah, they move so slowly.
Yeah.
But they want to literally send a bucket load of those probes out so they can land on the surface and then just send them out, because they can fly anywhere they want to.
Yeah.
Unless obviously the solar panels get covered by dust, which has happened in the past. But then storms on Mars come along and blow the dust off the solar panels, and things have sprung back to life again. You see, and started transmitting again.
Yeah.
So anything's possible. But I believe the mission there at the moment has been drilling and leaving little capsules on the surface of Mars. So the capsules are there. So probably one of the next future missions to Mars will be to send something there that will collect those up, put them in a rocket that's built into it, and then fire them back at Earth. So we get actual
just trying to picture that. That's
samples.
That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Europa. So to kind of round off this podcast on Europa, because it is just so fascinating when you just think about what the scientists have been doing to put this mission together, and because Europa, as I've always found Europa a fascinating moon, because just the concept of having an ocean with twice the amount of water that Earth has.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that I think that's even excluding the fact of all the water that's frozen on the surface, but just this liquid ocean. And if there is thermal activity that produces energy, you don't know what might be swimming around under there.
Yeah, as I say, all the potential is there.
I mean,
based upon this,
But the thing is, it might only be microbial. It might only be, it doesn't have to be really complex life forms.
Yeah,
the point is,
base.
If you can send. So to answer the question, I think you were about to ask me about how do we find out?
Yeah.
The further missions, and they are trying to design modules for this. What they need to do is to get a module there to land on the surface that can burrow through the ice. Now we're talking kilometers of ice. However,
a bit of a challenge.
Yes and no, because if you can get a probe onto the surface, and I'm just what are we called these days?
Citizen scientists.
Yeah, citizen scientists.
Got a badge and everything.
Got a badge. Yay! If you can have something that can say it's got a nuclear core, maybe it's got something which actually produces heat. And that you can stick that on the surface and it can slowly melt its way through. It doesn't have to burrow its way through, thinking, the iron mole from Journey to the Centre of the Earth. No.
Get the movie.
Oh,
come on.
To the Earth's core.
At Earth's core.
At Earth's core with Peter Cushing
and Doug McClure.
So what it needs, it just needs this probe to get on there and to be able to melt its way through, which seems to be the most practical way of doing it. And if you're using something which may be a heat source which runs off of nuclear power, then it can probably last for a hell of a long time producing heat, as long as you can protect your instruments and everything.
Well, that would be the thing there, wouldn't it?
But I suppose the thing is,
but how the heck does it get back up again, or does it just send?
I'm assuming
send signals.
I'm assuming
that's a lot of stuff to send a signal through.
Well, but I mean, technology.
A really long antenna.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I've no idea. But okay, let's just human technologies is gone in the past 100 years has just gone utterly
crazy.
So it might be possible to design something that could actually transmit through the ice crust. If not, if you had a probe that can sit there and melt its way through, if it has a transmitter at the top,
like a
is,
two-part. If it was like a cluster probe.
Yeah, if it was bigger than the hole, the bottom part was going down, that could sit on the top, and if it's melting slowly, there's nothing to say it can't. I mean, I don't know. Would it have several kilometers of fiber optic cable?
Well,
I mean, how?
I mean, if it's creating a hole, then surely it might be able to get a clear signal.
I would kind of think that it would have to be connected by some kind of fibre optic cable, and that could be really fine, so not taking up absolute tons of space, but long enough. If it was like
long enough and strong enough.
strong
to
enough, it was
support
like
the thing.
if it was strong enough, but it's like as thin as a human hair.
Yeah.
you could have kilometers of that probably on a spool.
Mm.
But once you
Spool.
get through to the ocean,
Yeah.
then you need the probe, whatever the heating element is, probably to drop away, and then the exploration probe, probably like what they do in the deep oceans on Earth right
Yeah.
now, is you have little what would you like submarines? What do they call them? But they have cables connecting them to the ships,
Yeah.
and they go exploring. So it needs something like that. Maybe it can explore within a certain radius of.
Well, it's just instances that you describing that. You're kind of describing a fishing line. Just imagine if
Yeah.
it suddenly gets down there after all this, gets humped by a goober fish or something.
By the Loch Ness monster.
The Europa Ness monster.
Yeah, Europa monster. I suppose the other thing is you'd want to land that probe probably near to one of the where you're seeing thermal venting through the ice,
Yeah,
so that you know that below that point is a
potential
thermal vent. So you're gonna have to get near to where you think life might be.
Mm.
So it's fascinating stuff.
It is.
And so there you go.
Good luck to the Europa probe.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I was going to say. I thought you were going to say crew. I was like, nobody on board.
No.
It'd be a bit buggered if it was.
Good luck to the Europa probe out there.
Yeah, we're going to have to come back in 2030.
If we get some good promising signs.
Good
back.
data coming back.
Good data.
Anyway,
as
so
the Americans would say.
that I think leads us to our little segment
Our outro segment
of
Wisdom of the Week.
So what is this week's wisdom from Buzz himself? Okay, so this week,
Okay,
are you ready for this?
bestow your wisdom.
Okay. The only impossible journey is the one you never begin.
Ooh,
There you go. I thought that was apt
that
because
is
obviously,
apt. Yeah.
there would have been a time in human history when to think of actually even just flying,
Yeah.
or to go under the ocean in a submersible would be like an impossible feat.
Yeah, these things.
And now we're going into deep space.
You're saying that, but like all space travel and all this stuff that's been happening over essentially within the last 100 or so years, that's all this happening. Before that, Victorian age,
Steam power.
none of this.
Before steam power,
No flying,
horses and carts.
horse and carts,
And a windmill, if you're
and
lucky.
ancient history beyond there.
Exactly. So maybe it's because they're retro. What do they call it? Where they get alien space tech, and they not retrofit is not the word I'm looking for.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what I mean.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, they
Re-engineer or like
yes,
restructure,
re-
repurpose.
Re-engineer alien tech that's landed.
It's like
on Earth.
Independence Day.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where they get the Roswell ship.
That's why we're all walking around with a computer in our pockets these days.
And actually aliens.
That's it. And before long, you're going to all be having the old Optimus bot standing by your bed.
Well, yeah, that definitely sounds like that's a topic
Can
for
stand by your bed,
a future podcast.
checking your breathing, checking your heart rhythms.
I'd be monitoring it.
monitoring it. And you wake up in
24/7.
the morning and it'll be like, oh, hello.
Thing is, we would find these things
Good morning, sir.
weird now,
How may I be of service?
but throw yourselves 30 years into the future, it might be the norm.
Well, I don't even think it'll be 30 years. I think it'll be before 2030. We are going to see sales of. I mean, because remember, Elon Musk's Optimus bot is not the only Optimus, bot around. You've got
You've got the Decepticons as well.
You've got Boston Dynamics, and there's loads of Chinese and Japanese bots these days. So yeah, having this kind of tech is going to be just accepted.
It's going to be
This is
exciting
like-
to see where it goes.
This is like iRobot happening. I mean, just the other day, I was walking along the road and I heard this kind of like noise come past me.
Okay.
And it was an electric vehicle,
Oh, okay.
but it was emitting that noise that it was spot on the noise that I associate with watching kind of 1980s sci-fi movies where they're like driving around in the futuristic electric cars, and the electric cars, they've put a futuristic electric car noise on them.
Well, there you go.
And it came past me, and I thought, my goodness me, I'm living in the future. Really, this is sci-fi real.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's cool.
so walking. Yeah, it won't be long before you're down the high street and somebody will be
Well,
walking along with their bot walking along next to them.
If anything calls anything Skynet, I'd
Well,
be
Elon
apprehensive.
Musk, he is developing the neural
Neuralink.
Neuralink. Although I developed one myself in one of my stories.
You did.
Probably about 8 years ago. I don't know.
You predicting the future.
I'm predicting
It's
the
like
future.
The Simpsons.
Exactly. Yeah, one of my future stories.
Anyway,
so there
that
we go.
is highly anticipated future podcast.
We've got so much tech stuff.
Stuff.
It's really funny because you know me.
Conspiracy theories,
my t-shirt,
aliens.
The t-shirt I'm wearing at the moment is about bushcraft.
Yeah, we've done podcasts on that.
I was talking to a chap the other day, and he said, "Oh, I know, Buzz. I know you love your bushcraft. I know you love being out in the woods and just being the simple life of sitting around a fire." And it's going, yeah. And then he said, "So I don't quite understand, mate. Why do you love all this high tech stuff? Seems so kind of contrary." And I said, "Well, I just do. I just love it all.
Why not?
I do. I love it all, especially the space exploration. But to see all these
incredibly interesting.
To see all these things really happening, as you say, 200 years ago, people would be probably still strung up for being a witch.
Exactly.
So
it's crazy the advances that humans have made in the last
Well, it's not
century.
just the advances. If you think about it, how long it's taken people to accept new ideas, When I think Nicholas...
I mean, you say that. I don't think we're fully there when it comes to world affairs.
No, there are pockets of people that don't. But I think it was Nicholas Copernicus, the astronomer, who suggested that the Earth revolved around the sun rather than the sun revolving around the Earth. And I think he got carted off to the Vatican or somewhere and basically had his arm twisted. Otherwise, he would probably have had a bit of a grotty end. That he was wrong.
Yeah, I think you need a horn for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do I need a horn for that one?
The Copernicus thing.
Nicholas Copernicus.
I want to.
You want a horn? You can do it.
Okay.
There you go.
Say something interesting.
So Nicholas Copernicus. I'm sure he was Dutch. There you go.
There you go.
But anyway, if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. But anyway, so but that's what I mean. So for literally thousands of years, if you stepped out of line with kind of suggestions and things that the establishment didn't agree with, you would be probably told as shouted at as being a witch, heretic, exactly.
Blaspheme.
But in human history, we're now in this time which has taken no time at all. Blink of an eye, everybody accepts everything. So yes, if next week you had Optimus bots walking up and down the high street, people would just accept it. And we'll give it about an eyelid. So maybe if the aliens land, maybe now's the time to think about it. Everybody's going to accept it. I think we talked about that in the UFO one.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah.
But anyway, we shall see.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of further topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes.
Future episodes.
Stay tuned for 2 weeks' time. That's when our next episode is coming out.
And go and check out the Cryptid Adventurers.
Yes. That's a big stratospheric goodbye from Zak.
And that's a deep space elliptical orbit goodbye from Buzz.
Watch out for that radiation.
Goodbye.